Okay, there we go. So, welcome everybody to our virtual workshop, Recession Proof Your Career. We are the West Shore and Souk WorkBC Center, and we'll be having our labor market specialist and HR generalist speaking today. First, I would like to do a territory acknowledgement. The WorkBC Center, West Shore and Souk recognizes the traditional territories of the Esquimalt, Songhees, Souk, Chiana, and Patchedot First Nations on which our offices are located. We are proud to provide employment-related services to these nations. Our agenda for the day is as follows. We'll just do a brief overview of WorkBC Employment Services, and then we'll have a Q&A with our labor market specialist, Tony, and we'll have a presentation on how to be an exceptional employee from our HR generalist, Melinda. And then if you have any questions at the end, you're more than welcome to answer them, or to ask them then, and we will answer them. So a little bit about WorkBC. WorkBC employment services are free and available to all unemployed British Columbians who are seeking employment and are legally eligible to work in BC. Some employed individuals may also be eligible for our service, such as those who are at risk of losing their current job or underemployed British Columbians with a disability. WorkBC centers are located across British Columbia, so if you were to register at one, you can always transfer to another one if you move or if there's one that might be a little bit easier for you to get to. WorkBC offers a range of services that support job seekers to improve employment readiness and to find or maintain employment. And additionally, any BC job seeker can access a self-serve resource area of WorkBC Employment Services Centers. So that would be computers, resume and cover letter resources, and as well as our front desk staff who can help you out. So Resource Center, open to all job seekers. Like I just said, that's use of our computers for your job search needs, accessing a printer, photocopier, a staff member. Our front desk community resource specialists are available to assist you if you have any questions or need assistance. Resource services are provided on a drop-in or appointment basis. We also offer workshops. Our virtual workshops cover all aspects of job search and job retention to ensure you achieve your goals. That's workshops such as resume building, career planning, interview skills, the hidden job market, and a mature workers workshop. Wage subsidy. The wage subsidy program is designed to assist unemployed individuals or underemployed individuals to enhance their skills on the job. Wage subsidy assists the employer when hiring someone who lacks all of the necessary skills for a position by offering a percentage of your wages during a duration of up to 24 weeks. Personal employment planning. We provide individualized sessions with an employment advisor to build your return to work action plan, helping you define your path to success. Job start supports. So that would be if you need access to work clothing such as boots, scrubs, tools, or short-term courses even, such as your food safe or first aid. Those can be available for those who are unable to afford it. Job sustainment services. WorkBC centers offer job sustainment services to help you resolve issues impacting your ability to maintain employment. We can provide on-the-job or in-office support from experienced job coaches. They can help you mediate disputes with your employer, learn new procedures, or gain insight into today's workplace culture. And job listings and labor market info newsletter. So as a registered client of the West Shore or Souk WorkBC centers, you can receive our newsletter, Job Links. This newsletter features a daily list of job leads, covers local employment information, as well as employment events and programs. So if you'd like to learn any more information about that, you can head to our website. We'll send out all of these links at the end as well. So no need to rush to jot it down now. We'll send it out after the presentation today. So I will now pass it over to Tony. We've got some questions for you. Tony, you ready?
Yes, go ahead.
So first question, what is a recession or what causes a recession?
Okay, so well, first I want to say hi to everybody, and my name is Tony Abbas, and I'm the labor market specialist at WorkLink, and I'm just going to talk a little bit. We're not going to do an economics lesson for sure, but we can talk about generally about recessions and causes them and what's the result of a recession. So it's important to keep in mind that recessions are temporary. Um, they generally last less than a year, and it's a temporary downturn in economic activity. Um, and a recession happens generally when a country's economy experiences many negative factors at the same time. For examples, that could be a drop in our GDP, which if you saw the news today, we've had a little drop in our GDP, rising unemployment, which we don't have, falling retail sales, which we don't have, and incomes dropping, which we don't have. And then also often you'll see reductions in manufacturing and international trade. All these things happening together basically could cause a recession. But you notice we're not there yet because we have high levels of employment. And that's generally the first warning sign. But we're coming out of a pandemic and there's some warning signs. So that's why you're probably hearing about recessions a lot in the news. And then as for what causes a recession, it's generally a severe economic shock or a series of little events. So severe economic shocks can be things like a pandemic, or it could be things like a stock market crash. But it also can be caused by inflation, which we have very high levels of inflation right now. And then other things like business and consumer debt.
Okay. So what happens to the labor market during a recession?
Yeah, that's a big question, and that's kind of the thing that's most important for us to sort of address today. If we look at a little bit of history, if we go back to our last, big recession, which was 2008 and 2009, Canada lost around 400,000 jobs during that period. So it's a lot of people who lost their jobs. And during a recession, it's harder to find a new one. So in normal times, people can lose their jobs, but they can return to work within a number of weeks or a few months. It's not the case during the recession. So that's why the layoffs are so important. It can be harder to find a job. And in terms of who it impacts, where are the job losses and who loses their job? It's often young people. So for example, in 2008 and 9, our youth unemployment rate climbed from just 9% to 12%. So generally it's harder for young people to find work during a recession. They tend to be the people with the less experience in the workforce, so they often struggle to compete with older workers who have maybe more experience and more skills or expanded skill set. And it's actually can be very tough on young people. Studies have showed that the timing of when you graduate out of post-secondary can have a lasting impact. So graduating into a recession, which many people have done, can have lifelong ramifications. It can make it longer to find a job. Your first job could be lower paying than you otherwise might have seen. You might have experienced slower promotions and career progression. And then ultimately, all this adds up to lower lifetime earnings and delayed retirement. So, if you're noticing the word recession in the news a lot, if you're seeing it online a lot, it's because of that. It's because of the unknown. How long would it last and how severe would it be? And it's because of all those effects that it's getting a lot of attention right now. So younger workers, as Tarbis, it can be difficult for every worker, older workers too. It just depends on where you are in your career and your age. Typically, a recession is bad for almost all workers, so I'll just give you one exception. So we had a brief recession during the pandemic, technically. And the reason a lot of people didn't notice is because of the CERB, a lot of people did not have to look for work. But the people who were affected tend to be younger workers and women. And that's related to the, tourism industry, hospitality, customer service jobs, accommodation and food service jobs that were shut down temporarily off and on during the first 2 years of the pandemic. So, but generally it's all workers can feel the effects across the board, depending, irregardless of demographics. And normally what happens during a recession is there's less hiring. So employers can flick a switch. and it can happen fast. So they can go into full scale hiring mode and suddenly into hiring freezes, and then quickly into layoffs. And this can happen very fast depending on business conditions, right? Also, what you'll notice if we do get a recession, and I have to be honest, odds are, smart people are saying that we will get one in 2023. If we do get one, generally employers hire more for part-time work, as opposed to right now, there's lots of job vacancies, so employers are hiring full-time. But during a recession, it's more part-time, and there's often more freelance and contract work, which for some people is great, but it can cause us to have a shift in thinking. We have to switch from a job searcher to essentially an entrepreneur, where we market our skills on a contract basis to employers. So that's important to keep in mind. Also, during a recession, workers are less likely to quit their jobs. And if inflation's high, older workers might delay their retirement. So what that means is that we have less people going in and out of their jobs. So what the economists call labor market churn. If there's no churn during tough times, people will not quit their jobs as much. So there's less entry points, less entryways in for people to find a job. And it is worth noting right now, though, that as I said earlier, there's high employment in Canada and in BC. There's a million job openings right now, a million job vacancies in Canada, and almost a third of those are in BC. And in BC, we have 100 job openings for every 70 unemployed people. So you can see there's more opportunities there are unemployed people right now, and in a recession that can switch the other way. But the reason I mention it is because the high number of job vacancies means that it's possible that we'll be able to have a soft landing, that we won't have massive layoffs. It's just employers will respond by just not hiring and trying to keep their existing workforce. So that's what the economists are calling a soft landing, as compared to 2008, and we may get that indeed. But also keep in mind, just because there's all these vacancies, it's not necessarily the jobs that people want, right? We have many, many job openings in food services and accommodation. Some people do not want to work in those sectors because they don't pay enough to support themselves or their family. And then we have many, many job openings in healthcare. And some people just can't or not able to or don't want to work in healthcare. So yeah, it's a very interesting situation right now.
Mm-hmm. How long does a recession last?
So I just consulted my crystal ball this morning, and it was very cloudy. But I'll just rely on history. So we've had 5 recessions since the 1970s, and they generally last 3 to 9 months. So it's not that long when you think of it in terms of your career, how long we'll be working, but it's a disruptor, and that's the sort of negative impact of that. And generally, we won't know when a recession started till after the fact. A lot of our economic data that this is based on, like our GDP and unemployment numbers, retail sales, travel activity, all that information trickles in after the fact, a couple of months after. So we technically could be in a recession right now. I doubt it. And it's the same when it ends. We won't exactly know. There's no suddenly a gong sounds and the recession's over. It just, things start to slowly get back to normal. And then smart people say, oh, it's over now, right? Mm-hmm. So generally 3 to 9 months, but in this case, I would expect a shorter than longer if we get one.
Mm-hmm. So what are the in-demand occupations during a recession?
It's a good question. So it's important to keep in mind that even during a recession, there is hiring. It can be harder to find a job, but there are still opportunities. That there will always be opportunities, and the jobs or careers that are most recession resistant are the ones where the demand for services is not dependent on the health of the economy. And I'll give you an couple examples. So healthcare is as close to recession-proof sector as we have in Canada, and that's because the majority of our healthcare system, healthcare services are delivered through the public system, where the funding tends to be stable, and the healthcare system does not need to turn a profit. So it can be less sensitive to sort of economics ups and downs. And of course, we have a huge number of job vacancies right now in healthcare, as I mentioned earlier. So that for those thinking about healthcare, it's probably as close to recession-proof as you're going to get. And there can be challenges working in healthcare, especially during a pandemic, and we could talk about that, but that's for another conversation. Another sector that is close to a safe bet is technology. Now, if you've noticed in the news this summer, there have been layoffs in the tech sector in Canada, and that's mainly been related to the cryptocurrency problems that we've had, and e-commerce. So the e-commerce has kind of leveled off a little bit, and it's going back to more historical norms, but it's still climbing. In general, though, if you think about technology, the pandemic has had a huge shift on how companies and businesses operate. If you think of an isolated, just one sector like the grocery sector, before, the technology for that sector was mainly in the background. We didn't see it, and mainly the website. But now there's a whole infrastructure that's been put in place to support online ordering, and grocery companies are shifting a lot of their staff into information technology and hiring in that sector. And in finance, the banks in particular are desperate for technology talent. And in general, anybody with the in-demand technology skills, like programming, web and database skills, if they're laid off, they will generally find work fast. It may not be in the sector they worked in before, but they have a skill set that sort of is transferable from one sector to another. Other sectors that can be, kind of recession proof are the ones that, again, are not dependent on how healthy the economy is. So, and that can be the finance sector, social work, insurance, legal services. If you think about that, all those things, our world keeps turning, right? Whether there's a recession or not, people get married, people die, people get sick, and there's still going to be always an infrastructure to support that. And then, of course, safety, like fire, police, EMTs. There's shortages in all those sectors right now, and they are recession proof because we do not generally lessen services in Canada during those kind of services during bad economic times. And on the flip side of the coin, what sectors can struggle during a recession? It's those that are really dependent on a healthy economy and a lot of discretionary spending, where people have a lot of savings or they have access to credit and they're willing to do that, and they're willing to travel, they're willing to spend. So consumer demand, right? So things like construction can slow, real estate can really slow during a recession as people put off making major decisions. And we see an influx of realtors during economic good times, and then just a big career change path for many realtors when things go south, right? And then things like travel services, motor vehicle sales, these things all do better in a stronger economy, and worse in a weaker one.
Mm-hmm. How could workers and job searchers prepare for a recession?
Okay, that's another good question. If you have a job right now, it's good to be aware of who gets laid off during a recession. It tends to be young workers and the people who are most recently hired. If you think about it, these are the people without the years and years of workplace relationships. They don't have the strongest ties to the organization, and they can often be let go because of that. And then often older workers who are sometimes seen, rightly or wrongly, as the most expensive. So that can happen. The key is you want to make yourself as valuable as possible. Like, look for cross-training opportunities within an organization. Have mentors and allies who understand the special value that you bring, beyond the duties that you carry out day to day. And then learning new technology skills is good. Keep a record of your achievements. I would say that's good for if you are laid off and you need to look for work. Sometimes we forget what it is exactly we accomplished at our job, and it's nice before we have to update our resume if we already have a sort of a list of that. And I think the key thing is if you have a job during a recession, you might not want to quit it. There are always people who have to quit their jobs for various reasons, but it's a little stability during a recession can be a good thing. And then if you're a remote worker, those workers can be at risk as well because they don't maybe have the opportunities to build the strong workplace bonds that are supported by sometimes the in-face meetings, depending on the organization. So those workers, remote workers really need to focus on that relationship building and nurturing those relationships. And as for those people who are looking for work, like I mentioned earlier, there's always hiring. And what happens though is that it gets harder to find a job. So right now, there's not a lot of competition for work, compared to tough times. Like I mentioned, there's 100 job openings in BC for every 70 unemployed people. So it's a good position for a job seeker, but that can change. And when it does change, you're competing with more people. So what that means is you need to cast a broader net. So in good times, you could be really specific about the job title you take and the organization you work for. In tougher times, we might have to look at thinking outside the box in terms of, what's not my job title, but what are my skills? And who can benefit from those skills, right? So casting a broader net, thinking outside the box in terms of where I could work is a good start. And then applying for jobs that you might be slightly overqualified for. And then if you can consider freelance or temporary roles, remember, typical recession is usually over in 9 months. So just because we take a temporary job to ride out a recession doesn't mean that we're locking in to that career for the rest of our life. So that's a good strategy. If you can time it well, you could be in school during a recession, but it's impossible to time. We technically could be in a recession right now, or it might start in April or anywhere between then, or we might not get one, right? So I think timing the recession is sort of like very risky in this case. And then I'll just mention, of course, there is a gig economy right now, like Uber or Skip the Dishes. We didn't have that in 2008, 2009, where people could earn those income streams to get through a tough time. So that may be able to help some people. And the key with your job search is to get the little things right. So when competition is fierce for jobs, you want to make sure that you get the help that you need to make sure that you're targeting your cover letters and resumes, that you're networking effectively, that you're practicing your job interviews, and that you're using social media correctly. And as Zoe mentioned at the start of the presentation, the WorkBC services could really help somebody, during a recession or any time really, to find a job faster than they would have on their own.
Okay, last one. How can people prepare themselves for a future recession?
Right. So so it's the sort of the last thing I want to mention here. Keep in mind that the recessions are relatively rare events. There might only be 3 during our career. There might be none. We generally average 1 a decade. So let's say we get one now, it might be 8, 12 years before there's another one. And by then your skill set and work history will look, different than it does today. But I think the key is, regardless of how good the economy is doing or how poorly it's doing, we always want to be future oriented with our careers. So we want to build a strong network, even when we have a job, so that when we do need it, is there for us already, and we don't have to invent it out of thin air. And focusing on lifelong learning, just because of the pace of change in the workforce today. So being up to date with technology and being willing to take in new information as it relates to your career path is always good. And then keeping a tab on labor market trends. So you might want to sign up for that labor market newsletter that Zoe mentioned at the start. And that's my job, is to I put out job postings every day, 30 to 40 job postings from Victoria. And but also, I also link to labor market news and job search tips. So that's a good thing too. And all these things together could sort of help you prepare for a future recession.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tony. Sounds like it's not entirely gloomy yet.
It's not.
This impacts us all. So it's definitely important information
True.
to learn. Mel, you ready to hand it over to you?
Awesome. Yes, definitely. I'm
Great.
just going to share my screen. Just one moment. I have a little PowerPoint for everyone. So just give me a second while I get that all set up. Awesome. All right. So recession proof your career. Uh, If you're looking forward, the best time to start recession proofing your career is before an economic turndown. But as Tony had mentioned, sometimes it's really hard to tell and you just kind of fall into it. It's there for 3 to 9 months and then you kind of come out with it or come out of it. So, however, once a recession arrives, you can still take certain steps to protect your job and to even keep your career from continuing and moving forward. There's some new ways develop and make yourself stand out to your employer. And we're just going to touch on some of those now. Big one on how to stand out is to build your skills. And so there's soft skills, which kind of touch around your creativity, your problem solving, communication, time management, decision making, and conflict resolution. Not to mention, there's a few others as well. Transferable skills are those that you can transfer through your job in different areas throughout your job. So your competence levels, your communication, your integrity, professionalism that you show, passion for your job and what you do, and for those around you. And then you have your hardcore kind of skills. Those are more the technical skills that you will develop through education or various training programs, and that can help better you in what you're doing. So if you're wanting and you're unsure of what skills to work on, number one, I would say ask your supervisor or manager. It's really great if you can do a check-in with your manager. Some people like to do weekly check-ins, bi-weekly check-ins, but it's really important if you don't already have a regular check-in schedule with your supervisor, maybe just kind of do a pop-in if you can, or find out, hey, I just wondering if we can just have a quick chat and just kind of pick their brain a little bit. It just kind of brings you to the forefront to your supervisor, because sometimes they get really busy and caught up in what they're doing every day. They forget to check in sometimes. Some managers are really great at it and they get it in their calendars and they'll jump in and check in with you all the time. And then you have others that just kind of get busy doing other stuff and forget. So put yourself out there, ask your manager, ask them, hey, I want to kind of develop my skills. I want to get a little better on what I'm doing. What can I do? Is there certain areas that you think would be best for me to start working on? They'll give you an idea, and or together you guys will brainstorm. Another area is the internet. You can Google search pretty much anything nowadays. And so looking it up there, seeing what kind of courses are out there. There's tons of free courses online. So if you go up there and look for free courses, depending on, what it is or the type of job that you're doing, there's probably something out there. And then, of course, WorkLink. We have lots of different workshops and help and support in our resource room. So come on by one of our offices and talk to one of our front end staff, and they'll be able to direct you in that way and help you to kind of brainstorm a little bit as well. So top 10 ways to stand out in your job to be an exceptional employee. So these are some of the areas in which I found kind of that were kind of popped out most. One is thinking outside the box, effective communication, and conflict resolution. Being able to stay focused in your job, think before you speak, willingness to grow and learn, personal growth, find solutions for efficiency and effective problem solving, accountability, your integrity, and emotional control. So I'm just going to kind of break them down a little bit, and then we can have some questions and answers at the end. So suggestions for focusing when it comes to thinking outside the box, working outside the boundaries of your job description. It's important to work without expectation of reward. So some people, they come up with these ideas, but then they sit there looking, well, hey, I did that. What do I get for it? It's not about that. It's about making your workplace a more enjoyable place. It's making it more efficient for everyone, not just for yourself. And those that are a little bit more modest, you still do stand out. Your supervisor will absolutely see that and how they reward you. It shouldn't be an expectation. So take pride in your workplace and your job. Look for ways to better your job. Create efficiency around what you're doing. And again, check in with your supervisor. Come up with suggestions and ideas. It's really good to keep that communication with your supervisor. Conflict resolution. It is important to maintain your composure when you are faced with conflict. If you can remain calm and logical in these situations, it really will help. A big thing with conflict resolution is just remembering to, again, remain calm, deep breaths, try to understand more about what's going on. Look at maybe there could be something behind the scenes that you're not knowing. If someone's a little on edge, it could be that they had a really bad day at home or they're going through something that you're not aware of. So just, be mindful of that. Other people have different beliefs. There's different backgrounds, different cultures from your own. So there could be a lot of different things behind what's happening. So try not to take it or personal or internalize it. Successful negotiations can pave a way for a smooth relationship in the future. So if you can look for webinars or training available that can coach you in this area, there's tons of conflict resolution out there that are free courses that you can take. And again, come on in and we can help you with that as well. Staying focused. So understanding the difference between real issues and background noise. So it's important not to get caught up in workplace gossip. Remember, if it's not your story, you should not be repeating it. It's really, this is it's a tough one in all workplaces. There's always, the water cooler talk, or somebody's, talking about, oh, did you hear about so-and-so, or this person did that. It's really important to just kind of put those horse blinders on, and be respectful for your coworkers. Think about yourself in that situation. And if you had shared something confidential with somebody that you work with, and then later you overheard them telling, Bob down the corner, but they had it with, an inflection in their voice that was a little bit condescending, or maybe they're making fun of you, that's not going to feel good. So just don't gossip. If it's not your personal story, you shouldn't be sharing it. Keep it to yourself. Unless they give you permission, you shouldn't be sharing it. So stay focused on what matters. Being able to do this will help you with your overall success. That is a really big one in work. Think before you speak. So thinking before you speak, it is really important to know when and where is appropriate. Balanced with your common sense and timing, your tone, body language, it reflects who you are and can have a large impact on everything around you and everyone around you. It's important to be very mindful and have self-awareness. Your words are powerful. Each word you use can have a huge impact. So they build up or they can tear down, they can motivate, they can discourage. Think about situations where you've been in where somebody said something a little bit hurtful. They maybe weren't meaning it that way, but it came across that way because of their tone or their body language. So it's really important that we're mindful of who's around us. And again, that can also lead into cultural differences, right? So just, again, be mindful and watch and be careful how you speak, careful how you're holding yourself and your body language, your eye contact. It reflects the kind of person that you are and impacts, again, everything around you. Okay. Willingness to learn and personal growth. Willingness to learn, always looking for better ways to improve your skills. So what can you do for personal improvement? One thing is like Einstein, I think he failed high school like 9 or 10 times and just kept going back. You got to learn from your mistakes, take ownership of your mistakes. It's okay. Everybody makes them. We're only human. We're not perfect. So if you make a mistake, it's okay to say, oh, I did that. Sorry about that. How can I fix this? Look for ways to make it better. Talk again to your supervisor or your manager. If you're not comfortable, if it's in a more public setting with more people around, maybe talk to them in private afterwards and just said, you know what, that was my mistake. I feel really bad. I didn't know how to come out in front of everyone. What can I do to fix this? What would be your advice? And you know what, your manager will respect you for it. You will get some big points for that. They will thank you very much. They can help you to reflect on it and figure out ways in which you can do better. Look for feedback, ask for feedback from your coworkers. Hey, was that okay? After this slideshow, I'll be going over to mine and asking the same thing. Innovation. Creativity in the workplace is essential for innovation. So whether it's creative problem solving or flexibility to decide on how work gets done, creativity is an integral to your experience and your growth. So come forward with unique solutions. Remember, it's also being mindful of when and where to speak. So just, looking at your solutions and if it's a one-on-one with your supervisor, or maybe you're in a group that feels like a safe space, but beware of how you're coming across. So just, politely say, hey, I have this idea. I was looking at it. What do you think? It may be received really well. It may not be, but that's okay. This is how we learn. But from that might kind of result in another idea. And somebody goes, oh, I like this, but let's do this. And together, that's where we come collaboratively working together as a team. And you help figure out those unique solutions together. You can help them with saving money, improving client relations, just doing something different around the office that just kind of builds that teamwork, inclusivity. All of that is always welcome. Problem solving. So good problem solving requires teamwork. You need to work closely with your team, ask about their perspectives on different problems, and involve them in developing effective solutions. So thoroughly looking to understand the problem. What is the problem exactly? Break it down into little tiny steps. Figure out, what is the end goal? What exactly are you hoping to achieve? And then kind of build steps from there on how you're going to get there. Is there anything missing from it? Is there any information that could be added to it? What or who is the source? So again, that goes back on the gossip. So depending on what the problem is in the situation, if it's something that's maybe not from a reliable source, or someone's just talking, trying to get things, stirred up a little bit, again, that's where you need to come to be mindful and look at it. Okay, what exactly is being come forward? Where is this coming from? How do we move forward to make this end goal work? So again, work together as a group, strategize, come up with an idea. Accountability. Learning what it means to be accountable in the workplace can help you to be a better employee. Accountability can improve your connections with others in your organization. People like to be around others responsible for their words and actions. It builds a mutual trust and respect. So it really does require that you keep your word. Be honest. If you say you're going to do something, make sure that you're able to achieve that. And if you can't, that's where you make up to your mistakes and saying, hey, you know what? I said I was going to be able to do this for you by Friday. I'm just getting a little backlogged. Is it going to be okay if I get this to you for next Tuesday instead? You're being honest. Don't wait until Friday when you said you're going to and just not do it and then don't say anything. Maybe they won't notice. They're probably going to notice. So just, be honest. Let them know you've kind of taken on too much. It's okay to do that. We all do it at times. Take responsibility for your actions. Take ownership for your work. Acknowledge your mistakes. Own them, grow from them, build on them. Okay, integrity. Integrity shows in the relationship with your team members all around you. Integrity and honesty go kind of hand in hand, and neither can exist without the other. In simpler words, integrity is to treat others how you would want them to treat you. It's kind of an old kind of cliche, but it really is true. If you don't like being treated some way, chances are your coworker or your friend does not want to be treated that way either. So be upfront. If you don't understand something, ask. Don't try and guess, because that really never works in the workplace. You got to ask questions. Make sure you thoroughly understand. Be willing to put in the hard work needed. Jump in and help others. It might not be in your job description, but it's okay. Sometimes you jump outside of that job description and go, hey, I can help you with that, and help them out. It'll be really appreciated and noticed. Take accountability for your actions again. So be a team player, be honest, be a part of the bigger picture, regardless of your position, and show respect again for others. Emotional control. This one's kind of a big one. We're human beings. We are emotional creatures by nature. So emotions can make our lives really exciting and unique. They can signify what we embrace in life. Find some time to self-reflect of just how your emotions are affecting your day-to-day life. This will make it easier to identify problem areas and track your success. Make sure you aren't just sweeping them under the rug. Find balance between overwhelming emotions and no emotions. Emotions regularly get out of hand, and when they do, they can lead to all sorts of different issues and conflicts. So, relationship or friendship conflicts, difficulties relating to other, troubles at work and school. It's, I could go on and you can see there's a big list of different things that it could lead to. But if you can stay on top, be compassionate and judgment free, really have that self awareness and knowing yourself and understanding what triggers you, what makes you kind of, get really weepy or something, or get really upset about something. But you want to be able to maintain that, especially in the workforce. So different situations, can lead to some frustrations and anger. And if you feel yourself, your fist tightening or your jaw clenching, people can see that. So you got to get control of that. Take a deep breath, whatever it is that helps you to calm, and then just take a moment. And it's okay to excuse yourself. Oh, just one moment. I'm just going to walk out for a second. I'll be right back. Take a deep breath, come back into it, depending if it's a heated situation or not. If you feel, it's something that's really hard and sensitive to you, and you feel like your heightened emotions, you can feel yourself getting teary. Again, just, it's okay to say too. You can say, you know what, I'm really emotional right now. I don't know why, or you can admit why if you know. People are usually understand. And again, if you're in like a client facing kind of role where you're dealing with a customer, um, you can excuse yourself or just be polite, or, it's different situations. I'm at a loss right now in my brain thinking of a situation where you might be in that, but it does happen. So if you can be aware of your triggers and what emotions and how you react to different situations, it helps you in that situation. So if you can kind of role play a little bit and think about those situations and kind of what would be the better. Sometimes an easy way of doing that is, again, self-awareness. So after you've done that situation, think about it, think about the conversation you had, think about what you said, what they said, what you could have done differently, and then grow from it. Use it as a growth experience. Again, you're going to make mistakes. It's okay, but it's how you take that, right? And how you build from it. All right. So yeah, there's just a little saying that I kind of like: when we strive to become better than we are, everything around us becomes better too. So just, I don't know, little food for thought there. Does anyone have any questions? All right, I will stop sharing then, and I'm going to hand it back over to you, Zoe.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Tony too? This would be your opportunity to ask. No. Okay. Well, thank you both very much. That was definitely very informative. And like I said before, it impacts everybody, right? So it's good information for everyone to have.
Well, Tony?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just wondering what other classes you have coming up, other seminars?
Yeah, so the best source for that is to check out our website. I think Tabitha just put the link up in the chat. Is that right, Tabitha?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a current list of, I noticed it was just updated for September. So there's lots of great workshops in West Shore and Souk and virtual.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is
welcome.
really helpful today.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you came.
Yeah, for sure. Just have to find that conflict program.
Mhm.
It's important to me.
Sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anyone else? Any questions? We'll also send out contact details afterwards. So if you feel more comfortable just shooting us an email, we'll make sure that that gets to the right person with the right knowledge. All right, well, thank you everybody for attending. We will be posting this on our YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go back and watch it, that link will probably be sent out later today or tomorrow. All right, thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.